Good morning to everybody. Happy Monday to you. So yes, I am on vacation this week. However, I'm so excited about getting away from work and celebrating my 20th anniversary with my beautiful and wonderful wife that I woke up early and we don't have to leave for another 5 hours. So I thought, well, let's check out the dailies and let's see if we can't get a couple of lap guides out for you today. I've run a few laps around Fuji. I must say the Ferrari feels really good around here. I just did a few laps and it also sounds really good, right? You can hear that, man. Thing is awesome. So I've done 6 laps, I think, and I got a 38.8. It's second and a half off the best time in the world currently, so I'm not too thrilled with it, but I only have so much time today. So I figured we'll just go ahead and do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the typical thing that we would do during a stream, except it's not a stream right now, right? So as the Ferrari screams by on the Fuji straightaway, let's take a look and get us a little bit of a lap guide using our Apex visualizer. So racing softs and racing mediums are available for this combination today, so don't do what I did and do the first lap on mediums and try to get a time that way, because it's not going to go as well. So get your racing softs on, and we're here right at the start finish straightaway, getting ready to do that huge braking zone with the hairpin coming up. So I like to brake just as the 150 board is passing me on the left. So right about here is my braking point, so you may utilize the concrete barrier with the stands over there on the left, something of that nature for you all. Now, what we have here is a hairpin. It's not a full 180 degrees, but let's go ahead and bring up the visualizer and we'll get an idea. So it's not a full 180. We're looking at about probably a radius of that nature right there. And notice how you want to be taking a nice late apex for this. Now, this is Fuji, so if you've seen a lap guide of mine for Fuji before, you'll know that this is late apex haven. We have multiple turns, one after another that are beyond 90 degrees. What that means is you're late apexing the absolute crap out of this track. That's part of why it trips some people up as well, I think, because what feels slow is actually fast, if that makes sense. So we're coming in the big braking zone here. We're turning in later, and we're trying to dive this, get this, and it might be a little bit more like this. Get the car to dive in, but we want the car pointed towards our exit. We don't want it to be coming in shallow right here, having to wait for the car to turn so that we're actually ended up on the throttle until out here. We want to be on the throttle over here. So in the actual track, we're braking down to third, down to second, and we're not going to turn in until we get close to around here so that we can clip the apex just like this, and we can already see our exit over to the right. Probably use a little bit of first gear for rotation, and then exit out in second. Try and keep this as straight as possible. May need to use the curbing out there. Watch that green stuff. It is slippy as can be. Okay, so next we have a fast left-hander, which this can't be, this portion can't be undervalued. So I'm stopping at my braking point, which is pretty much dead center between the 50 and the 100 board. And if we bring the visualizer back up, what we have here is a quick, it's a little bit beyond 45 degrees. So we're looking at a turn that is more or less like this. So a lot of times one of the things that we end up doing is we don't turn late enough for a quick turn like this, and we end up having to do a lot of turning out here. We end up, in other words, we end up shallow, right? We end up shallow, and then end up going too wide here, and often we end up having to lift because of that. What we want to do is do the business of the turn, get the business of the turn done early before the apex, get most of that done here, clipping that apex, and then being able to be on full throttle at the apex, and hopefully not any later, really. And that's really the objective of all turns, just about, with a few exceptions like chicanes and such. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do there. On the actual track, it looks like this. So we're coming in like this, we're braking, we're turning late, right? We're turning right as we clip this 50 board. We're using maybe, if we need to, we can use, you know, as you see my my input there, we're using maybe 25-30% braking to get that car to rotate in. By the way, I am using +5 brake balance, and that is in order to get the back end of this car rotated as quickly as possible. Once you get the car pointed where you need it to point, then you can get on the throttle, and you're just faster that way. Okay, so don't be afraid to track out wide. It's pretty stable even if you end up all the way out here. Now critically, right here is where you need to start turning to the right. Don't wait to turn to the right. It feels early, but the reason you want to turn this early is because you've got to be over here. Now you're full throttle, full throttle, full throttle until you get to just past this escape road on the right, okay? Lift at the escape road. You'll find that the car, when you lift there, will tuck in, and you'll clip this part of the white right here. And even if your right tires get on the grass a little bit, that's actually going to help you. Okay, now we do have a visualizer for this, so let me grab that. What we have here is essentially it's a long 180-degree turn, which doesn't involve a big braking zone like our visualizer shows, but it does show how the racing line that we want to take. So what it looks like, let's tighten it up just a little bit. You'll see what we're doing, and the key for a turn like this is to know when we're going to be at our slowest. So we're kind of double apexing this, right? This is pretty much what's happening. We're in this region, we're off the gas. We're letting the car coast, maybe utilizing a little bit of brake if we end up going a little too wide. The key point here is we want to be at our slowest here. So anytime there's a double apex, think of your racing line as a U, and you want to be at your slowest at around the bottom of the U, so that you can be on the throttle here, clip the next apex, and make the corner. Now with this one, let's go back to the actual track here. So that means here this is our first apex. We're letting the car roll. If you need a little bit of third gear, so you're in fourth, if you need a little third gear to get some braking, engine braking, and a little bit more rotation, I found that was helpful. Then you can be on the throttle by this point, and you're really trying to tuck it in nice and early here. Try not to go any wider than this. It might not always be possible, but that's kind of the objective. We're trying to get over to the right side now because we have this sharp, quick left-hander coming, but even as quick as it is, we're trying to make this also a late apex. So what we have here then is a turn that's not quite 180 degrees. It's close though. So even more than the hairpin than we experienced at turn 1, we're trying to get the business of the turn done early before the apex once again, so that we get to about here and we're able to boot it out of the corner full throttle, tracking out nice and wide over here. We're utilizing even a little bit of first gear as we end up going through this part. Okay, back to the actual track. bang down in second gear, braking, bang down in first gear. And this is the critical thing. We're getting all this rotation done before the apex. You can be tighter than what I am here. In fact, you should be, actually. But then once you're done getting the rotation with first gear, you back up to second gear. And out you go like that. Don't be afraid to get over here. Okay. Interesting section now. This is the area that a lot of people get tripped up on. So we have a chicane coming up, which a chicane also requires us to know when we should be at our slowest. Now, our visualizer is not an exact representation. We have, for this chicane coming up, it's tighter, and then it is, and then it opens up, which is nice. But we can gain a little bit of insight from our visualizer. So let's bring it up here. So here you go. So this would be, you know, this is so this is more, for our purposes, this is more like this. And the way we're trying to approach this is, once again, big braking zone, turn in a little bit later, and we're not on the throttle early. We're actually carrying speed through this part because we need to set up for this immediate left-hander, right? We do get on the throttle, but then we either do a little bit of braking or a little bit of lifting in this region here, get the car turned, and then be as close to full throttle as possible as we head out. So what that looks like on the actual track: big braking zone, banging down to third, banging down to second, late turn in, right? So get down to first, get that rotation, clobber this apex. You want to annihilate this thing. And I like a little bit of first gear and a big thrust of throttle here. But notice how I want to stay over to the right a little bit. I'm not going to just go directly to the next apex. That's not going to work as well. What we need to accomplish is a nice angle so that we can come around here. We lift or we brake a little bit and then up to second gear, and we can come around like that. Braking marker for here, it can be a little tricky, but I like this second, looks like it's like a pavement seam over on the left. You can kind of see it. Let me get it out of the way a little bit. So yeah, little pavement seam on the left there. That's my braking spot. Banging down to second. If you need a little extra rotation because you've overcooked it a little bit, you can use first, but preferably this one would be to stay in second. And you are getting a nice wide entrance. It doesn't feel fast, but it is, trust me folks. You get this wide entrance, you're kind of looking at it like this here, right? It is kind of like this about this trajectory right about there. And so that's what we're seeing here. We're getting this later turn in so that we can get on the throttle before we get to the apex. And that's really key with late apex turns in general. Get it done early. Get the car rotation done early so you can get on the throttle early in this vicinity here and still be able to make the corner. You can't do that if you haven't gotten the car turned yet. That's how that works. Okay? So can't be too afraid to track out a little wide here, but watch out if you're on the green stuff. Braking marker for here is the end of the curb on the left. You're carrying a lot of speed. Don't turn too early. Brake probably not 100%. And you can't quite do it in a straight line either. That's what makes this part a little bit tricky. So you're braking, you're in third, you're in second, and then you're making this turn kind of like that, right? And once again, you can see on the map, it's like a 180-degree turn, so you're getting all of this rotation done early before the apex, so you can get on the throttle no later than where I am right now. Really, that's your objective for this turn. Once again, if you're going to look at the apex visualizer for that, this is even tighter, really. than the previous turn. It's gonna look a lot like that kind of racing line, in all honesty. Okay. So final turn coming up. This trips up a lot of us. I like to brake at the pavement seam that's just before that white line. Let me just, you can look at it a little bit here. It's right above the roof of my car right now. Okay. So we're in third. We're making sure we're in control of the car here. We bang down to second, and we're under braking at that seam. And as we're getting the car to roll, a little bit of first gear helps to rotate really nice. Back up to second so that we can be on the throttle as early as now, okay? And once again, when you look at it on the visualizer, so it very much looks a lot like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and see that full speed. Normally, you know, when we're doing this on stream, you guys have watched me done a bunch of laps on a track, and you've got the idea of full speed. So this time we didn't do that yet. Let's go ahead and do it essentially full speed. I'm not going to be trying to break my record here, but just so you can see the racing lines in action. Braking just as the 150 board. We turn in late, get the car rotated, gentle on the throttle until we know we can make the corner without sending the back end of the car flying. Let's see how we do on this one. Little third for rotation if necessary, back onto fourth. Car turn early. Escape road lift, let the car tuck in. And not on the throttle as early as I wanted there. First gear for rotation, back up to second, out we go. We make the corner nice and smooth, no drama on exit. Really, that's what we're going for. We don't want any drama on the exit of corners. As the Dunlop board goes by, we on the brakes. Correction there. Seam comes. I needed a little first to rotate there. Had to make that mid-corner adjustment. Brake as the curb goes away. Get the car pointed on the throttle. No drama here, which is nice. And there you go. So that was, look, that was a really chill lap for me. Didn't try really hard, okay? Wasn't pushing myself to the limit. Let's see what that ends up being. All right, a 39.6. So, you know, a good lap is achievable here if you stick to those late apex principles. It can be really tough to do that. I understand. It feels really slow, but this is really the way to go for this track. Go ahead and try this today as you're trying to put up your lap times, and we'll see how that works for you, okay? Now, on to the next one. Okay, so we're at Trial Mountain Circuit reverse layout. So this is tricky. I will admit this took me about 20 laps, maybe 25 to get where I'm at here on the leaderboard. It definitely is a weird feeling. And as far as what car to choose, I see a lot of G70s. You know, G70 seems to be dominant for the most part right now. But in the top three, we are seeing a GTR, a G70, and an NSX. Now, what might be better in race rather than what is in qualifying, you know, that's up for debate. We'll have to see how this pans out. I definitely see, if I was racing this week completely, I know that I would definitely be trying some things out, I think, because of just the uncertainty here. But I went with the NSX because Trial Mountain has a lot of fast corners, and the NSX is just great at fast corners. So I'm happy with my time here, in all honesty. So I followed an NSX. The NSX had a 2:08, which is, it was half a second off the top time in the world with that GTR. So the fact that I'm within 1 second of the car I was following is good. I feel like there's more. I feel like I have a 2 I feel like I have a 2 in me in this car, but alas, we will never know because, as I said before, I'm on vacation. I'm not racing this week. Okay, so let's go ahead and check here. So one of the interesting things about this layout, and especially if we're not familiar with it, is where in the world are we braking, right? So this was a tricky one, but I found that the Marshall over on the left, it's just above my head right now. That was a great marker for me. So as that guy is passing my screen right here, I'm braking. Heavy braking zone. And now we have a 90-degree left that turns into a probably what, a 110-degree right. So it's kind of an odd chicane. It's not like the chicane necessarily in our Apex visualizer, but I think it will help us. So let's take a look at it here for a moment. So let's just imagine it like this a little bit. It's not perfect, I realize that, but this is depicting a little bit what we're trying to accomplish here. So where are we going to be at our slowest? That's what we want to think about with the chicane. And honestly, there's a lot of time here. So definitely dedicate yourself, if you're going to practice this track this week, to getting this part right. So we have the big braking zone, and we're really trying to clobber this first apex here, okay? And we're trying to stay to the left. All right, stay to the left. Sacrifice exit speed on the first apex so that you can have maximum exit speed on the second, okay? That's what that looks like. So that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, this chicane is not like the actual one, but it is providing for us that idea of what we're doing. So going back to the actual track. So we're coming in and we're really diving in. My objective is not to be at my slowest at this point, okay? That's the critical part. I am still carrying speed through this apex, still decelerating until this point right here about, okay? Once I get the car straight and I can get it over to the left, now I'm going for this angle right here. Now, I will say right now, this is where the G70, the GTR, any other all-wheel drive cars are going to have a huge advantage over the NSX because you have all four-wheel drives pulling, all four-wheel drives? Yeah, all four wheels pulling you out of the corner. But regardless of which kind of car you have, this kind of entrance, this wide entrance, getting you into this corner on the throttle no later than the apex, pushing you out, okay? This, another braking zone that's kind of mystified me, so I have a bad one for you, okay? It's this shadow right here. This is my braking marker, this shadow. So, this is my braking marker. Look at the map. We're looking at an over 100, we're looking at over a 90-degree turn. Not by a lot, right? It's not by a ton. So, let's see, we're looking at about an angle like that. The radius of the actual corner is larger than this, but we can still get the idea. So what we're trying to do, we're braking in a straight line. We're going a little bit deep into the corner, getting the business of the turn done before the apex so that we have a straighter exit. And out we go like that, okay? It's always key to know, the angle of the turn that you're dealing with, because it's going to tell you how you should deal with it. Honestly, it's huge. Okay, so that's what it looks like on the visualizer. Let's go back to the actual turn. So braking in a straight line, we're banging down to third, banging down to second, and then basically, as those trees on the left are about to hit the edge of my screen. So maybe for you users who use this screen or this one, it's as it's hitting the edge of your screen there. You're coming in nice and wide like that so that you hit the corner with this angle here, okay? Look at that. I can see my exit. I can be on the throttle well before this apex here, honestly, and still make the corner. Okay, tricky section here. You know, this is one of those sectors. There's two sectors of like this on this track. And this is one of them where it is some S's, and you want to be able to carry as much speed through it as possible. So I don't have a visualizer for this one exactly, although in the future it's coming. Okay, so just stand by for that. But we're dealing with a over 90-degree turn once again that opens to a slight right, then to a slight left. Okay, so that means we're going to sacrifice exit speed on this corner here, this left-hander, to be able to go flat through the rest of the section. Okay, so what that looks like, it'll feel slow at the beginning because we're braking, right? And we're on the throttle right about now, okay? But we're still tightening to the apex. That's critical. We're on the throttle fully by now. We're tightening to the apex so that we don't run too wide to the right. That's the critical part, okay? You know, you could be probably a full car width over to the right. If you're out there, that's fine. I'm not going full speed, so my momentum didn't carry me out to the right there. But what you don't want to be is over here having to lift because you're about to crash into the curb, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. So you're cruising through here. Now, I have noticed during practice, the car can go light over this hill, and the back end can come out. So you do need to watch out for that you'll have to end up having to correct, and you'll end up going pretty slow. So braking zone here is basically as soon as I can get over to these barriers and straight, right here is my braking zone. Right here is where my braking point is. Now, this is an interesting turn because what you're looking at here is a almost 180-degree turn, but it has incredible banking, okay? Just incredible amounts of banking. So for the visualizer, we're going to imagine that the car is really small in this scenario. And we're looking at it basically like that, okay? That's essentially our line. The only difference I would say is because of the banking, you can turn in a little bit earlier, and you can be a little bit tighter in this region here. Turn a little earlier, be a little tighter, but the objective is still getting on the throttle in this vicinity right here, okay? That's what's critical. If you can't get on the throttle until you're at the apex, or especially later, that means you've definitely gone too narrow, and you're compromising your exit because you're doing that, okay? So on the real track here, once again, so we're braking, only trail braking now into this area. We're in third, we're down to second, and right about here is when we're at about this rock, okay? About that rock, that's when we are getting on the throttle. Right before this rock, I would say. And because of all the banking, it's very easy to make this corner, I must say. Now the tricky part, and it took me a bit here to figure out where in the world am I supposed to brake in this dark, nasty tunnel. Well, there's a couple things, there's an indicator that we want to look at here a little bit that can help us out. So number one, you have these reflectors on both the right and the left. They're right next on the screen there. They're right next to the top of my car. That's a warning for us right there. So in case you're getting lost, and especially if you've got traffic around you, where am I supposed to brake? Well, these reflectors will help you a lot, at least to give you a warning, okay? Once the reflectors come, I realize I look up, okay? And there is this item that juts out. It is right above me right now. I love doing it like this. Right above me. Okay, up on the bar there. That's my braking marker. I suppose you could also use electrical panels on the right there. You can see some of those as well. electrical panels. As those pass your screen, maybe that would be a braking marker for you. This is a just over 90-degree turn. Let's look at the visualizer for a moment on this one. I think we'll use this example this time, but this is the idea. This is really a good idea here. So it's not like this wide entrance for this one, because there is banking once again. You're braking, you're trail braking in, you're in third gear, at least for the NSX, maybe fourth for the G70, going down to third at the end because of the gearing's different there. But you're just gradually tightening to the apex until you get there, so that you can be on the throttle mid-corner essentially and still make it. I have found that a little bit of a wider entrance has been helpful, especially than the Ghost that I was following. The Ghost actually crashes into the barrier on this, and it loses him time. So, but he's still got a 2-minute 0.8, which is nothing to sneeze at. So we're braking in a straight line. As the rocks end there, we're turning in. I'm in third gear, and we're just letting the car turn a little bit, trail braking a little bit, but we're on the throttle. Let me back up. We're on the throttle by right around here, okay? And we want to keep it kind of tight. What has been getting me actually is I've been turning so well that I clipped the curb on the right there, right where these cones are, so you got to watch out for that. But yeah, especially because of the rise, the momentum really wants to take you over and hit the edge of the tunnel here. But you got to get over to the right because you got this section here. Now, you're in third gear for the NSX. You're braking and you're letting it turn at a little bit of traveling, and right about here, you kick it into second gear, and this car tightens over to the left, and you're like, oh, I feel fast. Yeah, it's great. So, we'll do that. Third gear out. Keep it to the right now. Again, weird braking marker, at least to me. These beautiful little flowers and this bush that hangs just over the curbing there on the right, that's my braking marker. Didn't find anything else that I could regularly spot. So you're in third, and then you bang it down to second while under braking. Okay? Getting the car to rotate, and I'm really looking for this late turn in so that I can get on the throttle by now. And honestly, I've been catching the Ghost at this spot here. There's a little bit of a rise, and the back end can want to come out a little bit. Make sure you don't overturn, because if you overturn, you could end up unsettling the car. A really heavily banked turn for us here. Not really braking until we get into the tunnel, so we're braking right here and immediately starting to turn in, letting the car tighten. We're in second gear. I exit in second at the apex here, and maybe short shift to third if I feel like I'm not going to make it. Okay. This next section, the last section before the finish line, super important. Your objective, flat out. That's your objective. You might not be able to do it every time. What is absolutely key is to make sure that you got your turn-in points spot on. And I might make a recommendation. You know, I normally use I usually have driving markers on. I'm not always using them, but in a case of this, I really am, because I cannot spot, and nobody can spot, where the apex is for a certain part. So real critically, let's go through the line here, okay? We're flat out through here. We're turning just as the edge of the curbing, just as we get to the edge of the curbing. We're turning and we're being aggressive. Quick turn in so that we're definitely clipping this apex here. Full throttle. As we get to this rise, you see the driving marker up ahead pop out. So I am able to, once I see that, I aim my right tires to that driving marker. And look at what it does. It'll bring us just like this. And this is absolutely key. If you do not clip, if you do not assassinate this apex like this, then your car is not going to be in position to go flat through the rest of the section. That's really just the way it is. There's no other way about it. So you're flat through here. The road, you know, dips. There's compression, and that compression is really what you're looking for to combine your right turn. And if you've done it right, you can clip this apex through here and be flat out and have no trouble. And that's really what you're looking for. If you have to lift through any section there, you're gonna be a lot slower by multiple tenths. So let's go ahead and do a flying lap of what that looks like at speed. Not necessarily my quickest attempt, but just to make sure that you're seeing what it looks like at full speed, okay? So as we get through here, we are cruising right along. We're looking for our marshal on the left. As he passes by, we're going to get on the brakes. Carry the speed through this apex. On the second, little dab of first. On the throttle as early as we can. Okay. Again, we're going to look for our shadow. Not a great brake marker. You might have to find something else, but that's what I'm doing for this time trial at least. Carrying the speed through. Late turn in, waiting to be on the throttle, then getting on it. Yep, we experience that slidey sometimes there. Gotta watch out for that. Getting the car straight, on the brakes, getting the car to dive in. And we boot it out of the corner. The banking helps us so much. Don't underestimate what the car can do there, okay, friends? All right, we're getting through the long tunnel. We're looking for our yellow reflectors and the marker up above on the left. There it is. Third gear. We get a little wide entrance. Let it roll. Don't go too wide because we need to get to the right on the brakes. Up to third, and we nice and smooth out here. Looking for our flower. On the throttle early. See, I can catch the ghost right there. Brake as we get into the tunnel. Let the car dive in on the throttle early as we can. Okay, and now the make or break, the money moment. Turn at the end of the... Or, oh, we missed that a little bit. Have to lift a little. Get over to the right. Over to the left. Mostly flat. Mostly flat. You can see it's tough. But I had to lift a little bit, and that's okay. Not close to our fastest time, but that's not really the objective in that scenario. So what we're looking at here basically is just to see how we're supposed to take it. Again, my lap guides are not to end up giving you possibly, you know, a top time in the world, but it's just a check for all of you while you're practicing these tracks this week to make sure that, hey, am I doing everything I should do? Is there anything I'm missing? You can use this lap guide, these lap guides really for both tracks as a double check basically to make sure. So as I said, we're on vacation this week. I'm about to roll out of here in just a little bit. So appreciate all of you. Hopefully you have some good races this week. Hopefully you can get some good times on these tracks. Hopefully these lap guides will help you a little bit. Sorry I can't be with you on stream tonight, Monday night, as we typically are. But hopefully this will at least satisfy your lead withdrawals for this week. We will look forward to seeing you next week, Monday the 30th, to check out those dailies. Can't wait to see you guys. Appreciate you all so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.